Speaking to yourself is a habit we all have. We cannot stop talking to ourselves any more than we can stop eating or drinking. If we cannot avoid this inner conversation, we can at least choose what kind of conversation we have. Most of us fail to realize that these simple internal conversations are the cause of everything that happens to us. The Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." And how we think depends entirely on what we say to ourselves. To move in your desired direction, you must step away from all internal conversation that keeps you in the same place, what the Bible calls the old man, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. To change, you must first change your speech. Not just what you say to the world and the people around you, but especially what you say to yourself. The world is a magical circle of infinite possible environmental transformations, precisely because there are infinite possibilities for our mental conversations. When we discover the creative power of these internal conversations, we can change the course of our lives for the better. Do not underestimate the power of what you say to yourself. Control what you say to yourself, and you will control your destiny. Everything around you exists because of the things you have accepted saying to yourself. Do you want to change your destiny? Then control your thoughts, not allowing yourself to say things that don't align with your desired destiny. If the same events keep occurring in your life, it's because you keep saying the same things. Therefore, you will always experience the same type of situation. Trying to change the world without changing what you say to yourself is fighting against the nature of things. It's like expecting to harvest beans when you've planted wheat. Stop going around in circles, trapped in a cycle of disappointments. Admit that everything is caused by the power of the word. Control this power by speaking and accepting as truth only things that favor you. Only then can you break free from this cycle of disappointments. A young woman told me how difficult it was to deal with her boss. She was convinced that he criticized her unfairly and didn't value her no matter how hard she tried. I explained to her that if she considered this unjust, she should change that consideration to something more favorable. I had no doubt that she was mentally having arguments with her boss even before these arguments actually happened, because the people around us only echo what we say to ourselves in secret. Let me repeat. The people around us only echo what we say to ourselves in secret. So be careful with what you say to yourself in secret, or when you're alone with your thoughts. I was right. She admitted that she did have these arguments with her boss, and only when she acknowledged, even if just for a moment, that this could be the cause of her problems, did she promise to change this destructive habit. She began to imagine her boss praising her for a job well done, and she thanked him for the compliment, feeling empathy for him without resentment for past problems. To her surprise, she confirmed that it was indeed that internal conversation that caused both the disaffection and the affection. Her boss's behavior toward her changed. The echo was now different, since her conversation regarding him was also different. It is said that God calls things that are not seen as though they were seen, and thus they become actually seen. And that's how this young woman transformed her boss's praise into reality. Observe the people around you and understand that each person is where they are because of the things they say to themselves. In the Bible, it is written, "By your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned." Not just by the words spoken aloud, but especially those spoken in the silence of your mind. My words shall not return to me void, but shall accomplish the purpose for which they were sent. How can I send a word to a friend who needs help? Simple. Imagine that they are actually standing before me saying they are well, and see my hand resting on their shoulder, while I tell them how happy I am to see them in a better situation. This is the word to which the prophet referred, which will not return void, but will fulfill its purpose according to what was said. Now is the moment, not tomorrow, but today. Today is the day of salvation, for we see today to send our word with a good purpose. Only what is done now matters, as the effects of what is done today will be verified tomorrow. We don't need to speak the word aloud. The only effort necessary is to concentrate our attention on the good purpose, an elevated purpose, because it is according to this purpose that our word will return, bringing something similar to it and nothing different from what was said with faith. Everything in your life was once something you said to yourself or admitted to yourself as truth. We rob a person of their will and ability to be loving when we expect or imagine that they will act or react with harshness. The echo you will hear depends entirely on what you will say. If you control what you say to yourself and to the world, you can understand the emotion of the prophet when he said, "I will tell you everything before it actually happens, so that when it does happen, you can believe in me." What you can accomplish with this power, I don't know. Only you can answer that. In any case, I can only wish that you make good use of your intentions for the good of all involved. Where do you want to go? Does your inner conversation align with that? Does it bring you closer to or further from where you want to go? The Bible asks, can two walk together unless they are in agreement? No. In other words, if you desire wealth, don't talk about poverty. If you desire health, don't talk about disease. If you desire peace, don't delight in others' conflicts. If you want something external, first prepare something internal. If your inner conversation aligns with the destiny you intend to reach, then your work is done. You need do nothing else. But watch the world around you adjust to what you internally affirm to yourself. Imagine what you want, and ensure that your internal discourse aligns with what you want. If wealth is what you want, let your internal discourse be, "I love wealth." If it's health, let your internal discourse be, "I love health," and reject every idea different from this. Soon, you will see your word returning in the form of a new world for you, the world you prophesied for yourself. Then you will understand what the sages meant in Hermeticism when they affirmed, "There are two gifts that God gave only to man and to no other creature, the mind and speech. And these gifts have the same value as immortality. If a man uses these gifts correctly, he finds immortality when he leaves his earthly body, and the mind and speech become his guides on the other side, and there he will be led to join all the gods and souls who have attained holiness." With these gifts, which are speech and the ability to think and speak, we create the conditions of our lives. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, said Hermes, is the Son, and the mind is the Father of the Word. One cannot be separated from the other, for it is one that gives life to the other. God is the mind. Jesus is the Word. Jesus is all of us. Paul emphasized this well when he said, "Put off your former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind." To assume the new man and be renewed by the Spirit is simply to modify your internal conversation, the things you say to yourself, because the Word and the mind are one. For a change in the Word is the same as a change in the mind. The prophet Samuel already said, "The Lord spoke to me, and his word went out of my mouth." It is also in the Bible, "I have set before you blessing and cursing." You are given the right to choose. The conditions of our lives are not determined by external factors, but by our choices about what we decide to pay attention to. Today is the day of choice. Choose well, as established in Philippians. If anything contributes to your success, let that be what occupies your mind. Only the ends are similar to their origin. That's what Jesus meant when he said that no fruit falls far from the tree that gave it life. If you want to reap success, meditate on success, and so with wealth, and so also with health and everything else. When the young woman meditated on her boss being unfair to her, he echoed what she thought, acting in the way she expected him to act. When she changed the image of her boss to another, where he acted according to her expectation, he responded accordingly. It doesn't matter if today's conditions deny what we feel. If we persist in what we feel, the conditions will change to match what we feel. Again, it doesn't matter if today's conditions deny what we feel. If we persist in what we feel, the conditions will change to match what we feel. No one needs to hear what you are saying to yourself, because what you say to yourself is more powerful than any other prophecy made by another person. If you convince yourself of the reality of what you say to yourself, the desired condition is like a child waiting for its father. Assume paternity. You initiated this new condition. Carry it through to the end. Make it a reality. If the world is not well, it's because we have misused the word. Let us make good use of the word, and the world will improve. Let us stop conspiring in secret against our enemies, and we will have no more enemies. Let us see all as friends, and they will be our friends. If not all, at least most of them. It is the misuse of the word that makes violence spread throughout the world. When we meditate on how evil human beings can be, we will experience more violence, in fact. They can be evil, but they can also be good. It is up to us to choose which of these versions we want to meditate on and amplify in our world. No one can force you to have unpleasant internal conversations. Choose better conversations. You have this power, and no one can take this power away from you. The secret of all success is knowing where you want to go and maintaining an internal conversation attuned to that place where you want to go. If you want to go to New York, don't study the map of Miami. Occupy yourself only with matters relating to New York, and so with wealth, health, and everything else. As I said before, the only price you have to pay is to leave your old self behind, because you cannot enter the promised land with your old self. The spirit of poverty is not admitted in wealth, nor the spirit of disease in health. You have to make a choice. You can let your mouth speak about wealth and poverty, about diseases and health, and experience a little of each in your life. Or you can control what you say and have a more stable destiny. And when you imagine a better future for yourself, don't imagine it as if it were the future, but as if it were now. And never see yourself from the outside, as if you were viewing yourself from a distance. Be inside the scene. Don't be a spectator. Be a participant. Perceive this new condition with all 5 of your senses. What does it smell like? What texture and temperature does it have? What colors, flavors, and aromas are involved? Bring as much reality as possible to this scene where you are already living in your new life condition. Live this until you feel a relief, the same relief you feel when you successfully accomplish something. Tell yourself that it is done. I need do nothing more because it is already done. All that remains is for me to be still. And this attitude is confirmed in the confidence that is recorded in my new internal conversation. The conversation I maintain with myself favors the journey to the intended goal. I no longer doubt when I remember my objective. I no longer see it as an objective. So I say to myself, it is already done. I need do nothing more because it is already done. All that remains is for me to be still. This is my new internal conversation. This is my new destiny.